The following episode brings us to an early return to 2015's The New Looney Tunes, formerly known as Wabbit. During Undercover Bunny, a two-part segment, Bugs was wishing he had more excitement in his life. It comes crashing through his roof in the form of a fox lady by the name of Foxy Foxworth, voice played by India de Beaufort.
BUR stands for British Underground Royal Police.
She tells him that she's a super spy and needed his help to stop an evil plot. Trying to take hold of a super laser, they travel to the evil base, which turned out to be an army base for reasons not yet explained to us. Bugs proves to be very useful to her, not only by sneaking her in, but also throwing off the attack dogs. When they make it inside, that's when Foxy starts hinting to us that she's clearly up to no good. With one more obstacle standing between them and the super laser, Bugs proves himself yet again and dances his way past the security system. He manages to retrieve the laser, but in the process, he's caged. Once she got her prize, that's when our Foxy Foxworth showed her true self.
BUR, it totally stands for bad, unsavory, rotten people. And, yeah, I'm an evil bad guy.
Moments later, Agent Pepe Le Pew with his partner, who was also a new character by the name of Claudette, dropped in. And they all apparently went to high school together.
This thing is awesome. Let's see what else it does.
Foxy manages to pin the duo to the wall, leaving a bomb behind her escape. They soon also escape the base with Bugs, but Mr. Bunny still had some explaining to do. We soon head into the second half of Undercover Bunny, where he now had to train to take down Foxy. It's here we meet the commanding officer by the name of Ion Butte. Not Booty, Butte.
Booty.
Booty!
Booty.
Booty!
His training, however, would be interrupted early when Foxy called in a threat saying she wanted the deed to the Grand Canyon or she would destroy the United States Mint, the building that prints the money. We later see her again in person when the security alarm gives the group away. After a temporary moment of ditziness, she would unleash an army of robots on them. Once past the robots, round 2 officially began. She nets Pepe and Butte, but soon faces off with Claudette in a fist fight. Fighting didn't prove to be one of her strongest characteristics, but after playing dirty, she manages to overpower Claudette. She forgot one person, however, and that was Bugs, who defeats her with a super flip he learned during training. She ends up caged, and her career as a villainess and short run as a character came to an end. Thanks again for watching another episode of Furry Girl Profiles. Please be sure to leave a like, comment back, and subscribe for more content. My name is Jawbreaker, and I thank you all for watching Playfur Cinema.
My Freshmatic works every time, unlike certain things I could mention.
Vanilla and Festive Spice by Airwick.
For breakfast, I always give them Orangina. It's packed with goodness and keeps them strong and healthy. Orangina, naturally.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jawbreaker, and I am here speaking on behalf of my client, Lola Bunny. Or should I say, Lola Bunny from Space Jam, a movie that came out in 1996 that was more so about Michael Jordan and selling shoes than it was about the actual Looney Tune series. Space Jam is also the exact same movie that my client debuted in. I am here today on her behalf because folks have accused her of being not loony enough, not being a good role model, too sexy, and doesn't have enough personality. As far as that not loony enough argument goes, let the record show that it is indeed a fact that Lola almost did not make it into the movie. That spot was reserved for Bugs' old girlfriend, Honey Bunny, who was scrapped at the last second for a better looking character because she looked too much like Bugs in a drag. And thus, Miss Lola Bunny was practically hurled into a role with very little development. Also let the record show that Space Jam is an hour and 40 minutes. Lola only appeared in the movie for about a total of 30. She doesn't make her debut until the middle of the film, and doesn't appear again after that until the big game, where the movie is practically over. But even towards the end of the film, Lola was barely allowed to open her mouth or even show her full potential. A potential that you couldn't see unless you read the Looney Tune comics, because she was being overshadowed by the only two main important characters in the film, Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan. But I mean, of course it's always the character's fault, right? I mean, who would blame the creative team? I mean, why would you blame Congress, the actual lawmakers, when blaming the president is so much more easier? And there seems to be this bug going around that classic Looney Tune fans like to go off of called nostalgia. They often like to use it to downplay Miss Lola Bunny as a character, saying she's not loony enough. And if that's the case, then I have to ask the viewers what exactly was so loony about Space Jam in the first place. And if you arrived at nothing, exactly. Nostalgia is good. It reminds us of the good times. But sometimes, too much nostalgia makes us do stupid things, like vote for Donald Trump. It's also not the only thing that makes something sell or makes something great. Lola might have not been as loony as, say, Bugs Bunny. However, Warner Brothers gave Lola 2 goals to achieve: to be Bugs' love interest and to appeal to the female audience. Little girls loved her and she became an overnight success. She replaced Honey Bunny as Bugs Bunny's permanent love interest. So let me calculate that. That's Lola 2 and nostalgia 0. Which now brings me to her not being a good role model for little girls and being too sexy. See, I understand the human mind can be a little bit backwards. If we love something, we can point out everything that was great about it. If we hate something, we discredit it and refuse to realize the situation for what it really is. Let's be honest here. Parents nowadays are kinda stupid. They take their child to a movie, and then when something flashes up on the screen that they didn't want their child to see, they throw a tantrum. When all problems could have been prevented if they just checked the content rating first. Instead, they seem to think that every single cartoon is made for their kids, including Family Guy and Sausage Party. Yes, there are parents who actually took their children to Sausage Party. They exist. Another close example is the movie Sing. In that movie, bunnies were shaking their tails. Parents can complain, but then again, that movie was not rated G. It was rated PG. You know what PG stands for? Parental guidance. Be a parental and give your children guidance. And as far as Space Jam goes, unlike the classic Looney Tune shorts, Space Jam was rated PG. But nevertheless, individuals like to say that because Lola was so sexy in her looks and in ways that she was a bad role model. Because really, that's all they ever choose to focus on. First of all, me personally, I don't see the problem. I see a gorgeous character who is comfortable in her own skin and doesn't have a problem showing it off. Lola loved herself, something you would think would be a good example for kids. But nowadays, we as humans love to treat sex and sex appeal as an abomination and continue to keep on telling our children that big old lie that if you keep on fapping, you're gonna go blind. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say fapping? I meant touching yourself. Does that sound better? If people were actually able to look past this, they would realize that Lola was actually quite the independent woman. Yes, there came a point where Bugs had to save her, but then again, that's actually what love interests do. At some point, they get in trouble and the hero has to save them. But the time leading up to that point, Lola showed that she didn't need much support from the male characters. Not only did she prove that she belonged on the team by scoring on Bugs, she also pulled her own weight during the big game and scored on the Monstars. She also showed that she was a bit of a no-nonsense character, not taking any sexist remarks from either one of them. Wait a minute. Egad! That's a personality trait! I could have sworn Lola had no personality! Wait a minute. It's all coming back to me now. She's also tomboyish, seductive, and sassy. Do you want to know a certain celebrity of 2016 who was also sassy? Judy Hopps. No way! You know, Judy Hopps, the one that got credit for everything last year while Lola spent the year of her 20th birthday being torn down on her behalf. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's my argument, and if you feel that you want to dispute this, feel free to leave a comment on the video. Leaving a like on the video is also appreciated. And please, do subscribe for future videos. My name is Jawbreaker, and I thank you for watching Playfur Cinema. Look at this fucking loser. Take your fucking mail! Bum ass.
Hey, Mr. Beaver. Why are you beavering around? Haven't you heard of Cadbury's Caramel? See, as the thick Cadbury's milk chocolate melts with that dreamy caramel, you just have to take things really easy. Looks like somebody else could do with some. Take it easy with Cadbury's Caramel.
It's November 15th, 2016. Today marks 20 years since Space Jam was released. And as it does, it also marks 20 years since another famous cartoon made her debut.
Hi, my name is Lola Bunny.
Lola?
Today in cartoon history, we celebrate the 20th birthday of Lola Bunny, the heartthrob of the hoops who gave a lot of boys their first heart-on. And what better way to do that than to reminisce back on some of her 20-year history. Today we look at 10 facts about Lola Bunny. Those who know their Looney Tune history knows Honey Bunny was the original girlfriend of Bugs Bunny, who was set to debut in Space Jam but was ultimately replaced by Lola Bunny when it was decided that she looked too much like Bugs Bunny in a drag. Though in a twist, Lola's design drew inspiration from Honey, going back 50 years to Honey's debut in 1966. Within those 20 years, Lola has had a total of 4 English voice actresses. Her original voice from Space Jam cast Suchi, Brett McKillop for Baby Lola and Baby Looney Tunes, Kristen Wiig for The Looney Tunes Show, and Rachel Ramirez during Looney Tunes Rabbit's Run. Baby Looney Tunes marked the first TV series for Lola away from Space Jam and comics. The series lasted for 2 seasons with 53 episodes, almost as long as The Looney Tunes Show, but The Looney Tunes Show stopped at 52. Lunatics Unleashed introduced us to Lexi Bunny, who shared quite a bit of Lola's beauty, sassy personality, and athletic ability. People often mistake her for Lola. Lexi was her future descendant. Lola has appeared in a total of 3 movies. Outside of Space Jam and Looney Tunes Run Rabbit Run, she made an appearance in Tweety's High Flying Adventure, where she showed up very briefly as a TV reporter. During the Looney Tunes show, Lola made her debut during Members Only. Towards the end of the episode, Lola breaks up with Bugs Bunny for Pepe Le Pew. She will resurface later down the road in Eligible Bachelors. By that time, Pepe Le Pew and her were no longer together. The TV series never explained what happened before the show was cancelled. Fans love to speculate that Lola was possibly the mentor for Babs Bunny, one of the few cast members during Tiny Toon Adventures that didn't have a Looney Tune counterpart. A character by the name of Honey became the mentor for Babs. Lola wouldn't debut until 1996, a whole year after Tiny Toon Adventures ended. Lola Bunny's signature catchphrase during Space Jam was, "Don't ever call me doll." As a character that didn't take much nonsense from guys, she took offense to being called a pet name, something Bugs learned the hard way.
Don't ever call me doll.
Before Lola Bunny came along, during Crazy Castle 2, Honey Bunny was originally the damsel in distress. Afterwards, during Crazy Castle 3 and Crazy Castle 4, Lola would replace her permanently. The most comic appearances Lola has ever made was 22, and she made most of those appearances during the Looney Tunes DC Comics. This has been 10 facts about Lola Bunny. As always, if you liked the video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe for future videos. My name is Jawbreaker, and I thank you for watching Playfur Cinema.
Now, Walker's crisps are even more irresistible. With 36 Looney Tunes cubics to collect. Swap them, build them, but most of all, complete the set to finish the puzzle.
We'll find it. We'll find your missing piece.
You'd better, Big Ears, or the girlfriend gets it.
Bugs, help! Who's he calling Big Ears?
Small forward. Standing a scintillating 3'2". Yes. Lola Bunny. Yes! Come to Papa!
The Tom and Jerry Kids series was released in 1990. It was following the popular trend where aging down adult characters into children was all the rage. It came out just 4 years after the Flintstone Kids and just 2 years after a pup named Scooby-Doo. Tom and Jerry Kids stuck around for 4 seasons, and today's featured lady made a one-time appearance during season 2. Our featured lady's name was Cleopatra, which was a play on Queen Cleopatra. She was a gorgeous feline whose looks were equal to her bossy and snobby attitude.
You forgot wise and wonderful, not to mention a host of other adjectives. Here, go buy yourself a dictionary.
In this ancient Egypt segment, she was tormented by Jerry, who was playing a character by the name of Desert Shadow, who she had both a hate and love affection towards.
There is no rest for Cleopatra as long as that beastly, yet somehow romantic, Desert Shadow is on the loose.
Of course you already know, the one who has to take up the burden of actually catching him was Tom. His character name was Tutankhamun, and she basically puts him through the meat grinder over Desert Shadow. Tom had now had to catch him or he was alligator food, which was no easy task as Cleopatra laid in her chair, admiring her enemy and losing her fruit in the process. Eventually, after yet another failure to catch Desert Shadow, she was summoned Tommen again where a table with a large feast was waiting. She tells him she was expecting visitors soon and wanted Shadow nowhere near the food. If she was to come back from a royal bath and one thing was out of place, she was tossing him in the slave galley.
Then I'll feed you to the alligators! Oh, that's lovely.
While Tommen was dealing with Desert Shadow, she later found herself in some trouble of her own when a villainous wolf tried to use her to become king. And unfortunately, the responsibility of defending her once again fell on Tutankhamun's shoulders once again. She builds him up as if he's the strongest warrior in the land and gets him tossed in the water with the alligators. Tommen didn't strike any fear into him, but the sight of the Desert Shadow did. Enough to make him jump overboard. Shortly after, no longer hostile towards Shadow, she is seen feeding him as a thanks for saving her. She would then ask him what would he desire as an award. He tells her the request in her ear, and then we soon see him skiing out on the water with the ship acting as a speedboat. In the end, poor Tutankhamun still ended up in that slave galley. Cleopatra was voiced by Tress MacNeille.
How it feels to chew 5 gum. Stimulate your senses.
Welcome to Wendy's Kids Meal World. It's just for kids. Try and hang on to your hamburger or catch a crispy nugget through the fry tunnel. Time to chill out. It's gonna be a frosty ride. Wendy's Kids Meals are just for kids, and so is what's inside.
There's something big going on at Wendy's. Just ask Babs. Where in the world is Brain? It takes Wacko to climb this ladder. And look, Yakko's rolling along. Now one big cartoony toy in every Wendy's Kids Meal purchase. You can collect all 5.
You know, sometimes folks, I get into arguments. Or sometimes I need to correct somebody. But instead of just blabbing out nonsense, I like to use, that's right, logic, the supporting reasoning that backs up the argument that you're trying to make. But for some reason, and mainly on the internet, a lot of people don't like to use the word logic. Why? Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why people probably don't like to use logic. And one of those reasons I blame is nostalgia. Ah, yes, that magical word that helps us reminisce on the good old days. It's nice to reminisce sometimes. The issue with nostalgia is, sometimes it can turn into its own personal drug. When people start overdosing on nostalgia, they begin to act a bit delusional. They can't accept the fact that the things that they grew up with are not always better than the newer things. Which now brings us to the topic discussion of the video. Classic Lola versus Looney Tune Show Lola. And if you haven't seen an argument between which one is better, this is where not only logic goes out of the window, but common sense as well. Now, back when I made a Furry Girl profile on Lola, I pointed out that Lola was my very first furry crush even before I knew what the furry fandom was. So truth be told, I like Lola regardless of whatever incarnation she's currently in. And when we talk about the incarnations of Lola, or the personalities of Lola, there's not just 2 Lolas, but 3 Lolas. Space Jam Lola, Comic Lola, and Looney Tune Show Lola. The one in the middle is Comic Lola. She's actually the balance of the 2. But what happens is, when arguments start, she is completely disregarded for the other two. But, Jawbreaker, old boy, I am quite confused. What exactly do you mean by balance? I said exactly what I meant. A balance. Comic Lola could take a beating, talk smack, act very unladylike, get revenge, and yet still be just as sassy and hot as her Space Jam counterpart. But, back to what I was saying about the other two Lolas. Despite my third-rate love affair with Lola, the difference between me and other people who can't take off their rose-colored glasses is that I have zero issue pointing out either of their flaws. Now listen to how this sounds. Hey man, what are you talking about? Looney Tunes show Lola is stupid. Space Jam Lola will always be the best. The best at what? Being a penis magnet? When people overly support Space Jam Lola, they seem to completely disregard what a Looney Tune typically acts like. The original Looney Tunes came from slapstick comedy. They fall off cliffs, they get blown up, anvils drop on their head, etc. And they did all that with one goal in mind, which was to make their audience laugh. The most she had was a few one-liners and her good looks. Now, mind you, it's not entirely her fault either. When you appear only approximately 30 minutes out of an entire movie, you don't really have much to go on anyway. Now then, please forgive me, Space Jam Lola. I'm so sorry I hate to call you out on your shit. I still love you. Excuse me. Looney Tunes show Lola is way better. Not only is she funnier, but she's not just some eye candy like the old Lola. She never stopped being eye candy. And on occasions, she even emphasized her sex appeal just like her other two counterparts. You think I'm fibbing? Go look at the Looney Tunes show episode Double Date and see how she tries to work her magic on Daffy. In this particular show, she's still very pretty in her own right. The only difference is she doesn't have the supermodel shape that Space Jam Lola has. As for that funny side of her, yeah, she's very hilarious. Unfortunately, it took her becoming a stereotypical dumb blonde and a stalker to get to that point, which is not exactly original or good itself. Now, the reality of the situation is, regardless of the flaws in their personalities, both Lolas actually fit perfectly into the role they were given. But if these two ended up with each other's roles, that's when it'll truly start becoming a disaster. Some people like to think otherwise, but I say that's complete nonsense. Let's analyze Space Jam first. So the plot basically was, Looney Tune Land faced invasion from these little aliens that came from Moron Mountain. They were sent by their boss to enslave the Looney Tunes and bring them back so they can be the live entertainment for their planet. But because these aliens were so very short and not very bright, the Looney Tunes made a deal with them. They challenged them to a basketball game, assuming it was going to be an easy victory, and agreeing to be their slaves if they lose. However, the little guys proved to be a lot more crafty than they were given credit for. They began sneaking into basketball games and stealing the talent away from the best NBA players at that time period. And when they fed on that talent, they transformed into these huge, bulky monsters, nicknamed the Monstars. Now, not only are they very talented, but they can easily overpower the Looney Tunes with ease. This is where the Looney Tunes hit the panic button and decided that they needed help. Because if they didn't, they were going back to Moron Mountain, and it was not going to be a pleasant experience. So after they recruited former top NBA player turned horrible baseball player Michael Jordan, we soon meet Lola Bunny for the first time. And she quickly establishes herself after she embarrasses Bugs on the court after he puts his rabbit foot in his mouth. Now, let me go ahead and say this. As much as a guilty pleasure Space Jam was to us, the movie was indeed overall bad. Not only was it one big Nike promo, but Michael Jordan at times seemed like he was lost and the jokes were just utterly corny. So we can assume Lola's character came with the territory. She wasn't brought in to so much be funny like the other Looney Tunes. She was brought in to target the female audience. Now mind you, storyline wise, I'm pretty sure the other Looney Tunes were not too concerned about what comedy degree she had. They were just trying to avoid slavery by any means necessary. And because Lola was so very talented at basketball, she fit the bill perfectly. Now here's why I think Looney Tunes show Lola would not have worked for Space Jam. Though she does have a loony personality to her, if she was introduced into Space Jam, her role probably wouldn't be as memorable as the Space Jam Lola we know today, because she probably would have blended in with the other numbskull male Looney Tunes a bit too much. and wouldn't have been able to separate herself character-wise. Besides, no diss to Looney Tunes show Lola, but the personality of a strong independent woman character probably works more towards Space Jam's theme than Goofy Airhead. But probably the number one thing that distinguishes the two is their sports skills. Space Jam Lola had a love for basketball, and she was actually really good at it. Looney Tunes show Lola, on the other hand, had a love for tennis, and she couldn't play to save her life. And I feel I must remind you again that during the team practice session scene, before Lola came in, Michael Jordan was actually the only real good player on the team. And the Toon Squad desperately needed warriors who could play basketball. So for this Lola to come in and try out, she would have just been more pretty faced than she would have been useful. Now for the Looney Tunes show argument. But before that, I must point this out because oddly enough, some people do not understand the difference. The Looney Tunes show is completely separate from Space Jam. Space Jam and the Looney Tunes show never happened. Michael Jordan never came to Looney Tune Land, and Looney Tunes show Lola is a completely different take on the character away from Space Jam's Lola. And no, a tennis ball to the head did not change her personality. Anywho, the Looney Tunes show was the Looney Tunes that dared to be different by taking the Looney Tunes away from its classic slapstick routine and taking it more into sitcom. This, a vast majority of the time, took them out of their usual wacky routines and tried to fit them into modern, civilized society. Because of this, some of the usual classic personalities have been completely changed. For example, Taz is playing the role of Bugs Bunny's dog. Gossamer, the big furry red one in the back, is a big kid in the monster's body. And Witch Hazel, she's black. Now, for those of us who actually know him, we all know Bugs' character personality is usually witty, sarcastic, he's a bit of a prankster. He's still pretty much the same, only he's slightly less wackier than classic Bugs. This Bugs is stuck more with the sophisticated role and being the voice of reason. I would describe him as a borderline Gary Stu, and Gary Stu is the male version of a Mary Sue. And for those who don't know what I mean, a Gary Stu and a Mary Sue are characters who basically are perfect and have no flaws. He does have his flaws. Now, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking because of this laid-back and voice-of-reason type personality, the creators wanted to actually pair him up with his complete opposites. So they placed him with, in my opinion, the only two characters who managed to separate themselves and make the show work, his greedy, pathological lying, greedy-ass roommate, Daffy Duck, and his eventual girlfriend, you already guessed it, Lola Bunny. Now, old school fans like to give this Lola a hard way to go simply because she didn't come first, and because she became a stereotypical dumb blonde. But that's just it. That stereotype is what made her work for this particular show. A goofy, over-talkative character with no space between her thoughts besides Bugs. She was so overly obsessed with him that she was literally driving Bugs nuts in the beginning. And it's not just limited to Bugs either. She did it to Daffy for a brief period too. And it was funny seeing the stalking antics she would pull just because of her crush on them. That's what I believed worked for her. That's what I believe separated her from everybody else in this TV show. And I think the whole ironic part about this thing is that made it work even more is Space Jam Lola. Because it was completely mind-blowing to see the 360 in her personality compared to where she came from. Now, I still in a way miss the old Lola. But I get so sick of seeing arguments about the Looney Tunes show is shit and that they hate the new Lola Bunny compared to the old one. Look, you wanted the old Lola Bunny and Looney Tunes show so bad? Okay. There's already a good number of characters in this show with her similar personality. Take your pick. They're not very loony, and a good number of the times their jokes were a hit and miss. So why would you put the old Lola in a show like this? She wouldn't have worked nearly as well, and if anything, it was the right thing to do to make Lola the way she is in this show. But that's just my opinion. You can take it or leave it however you want. Anyway, video's over. Thanks for watching, everybody. I do hope you enjoyed this slight rant and comparison. Hopefully, it will help some of you to stop spouting nonsense!
He's small, but pretty powerful.
He's not alone there. Airwick Freshmatic Eye Motion Compact with movement sensor. Sponsors Emmerdale.
Electricity and gas prices are on the rise, and a good deal is hard to find. So you have to get Foxy. Let Foxy do the hard work and get you a better energy deal. Whether it's hunting for a good service or a new way to save, we make it simple And our service is free. So don't get left in the dark. Let Foxy find the deal for you. Call 1-800-ASK-FOXY or visit foxy.com.au.
Minutes in, it's game time. Since the main theme is Lola Bunny, let's do a round of Looney Tune Racing.
Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, come on, pick me. Oh, come on, pick me.
Don't be such a spoiled sport.
My jiggling gigolo wants to play hide and go seek.
I don't even know if that's PG.
Summer camp, bunch of has-beens. Has-beens? Has-beens!
Heinz Tiny Toon Beans and Bites.
Dear Lord, if you have any mercy in your heart, please just kill me right now. Come on, do it! Strike me down, please!
The year was 2021, and in that year, the war on biology raged on through animation. The latest victim was a character called Lola Bunny. So here we go again, The director of Space Jam: A New Legacy has hopped on board the Titties Are the Devil Tutu train and has had Lola redesigned to the point it was blatantly obvious he thought he was doing the world a favor it didn't ask for. There's a reason why a lot of us live for disappointment when it comes to modern media. I feel as though when a story is adapted from a comic, video game, or for a sequel, they come with a fan base that has a certain level of expectation on what they hope for. At the end of the day, they end up upset because the movie makers either have no relatable vision for what they are working with, or say to hell with the fan base and do whatever makes them happy. As of this video, there is no official trailer yet for Space Jam: A New Legacy, outside of promotion with LeBron and Bugs and small images beginning to be leaked. It's in that promotion that we got to see not only the new uniforms, but we was confirmed that Lola Bunny was indeed returning. In her new look, she got hit with the D-Feminine stamp hard. They not only took away her hourglass figure, they made her flat-chested and even put extra clothing under her shorts. I know people are ready for me to rage over a lack of bunny boobies. The truth is, I wanted to like the new look, but as time went on, I got more and more frustrated with it because of the reason behind it that keeps happening. Her dramatic makeover sends a signal that Mr. Lee is likely projecting what his views of women should look like onto the character for brownie points. I'm also getting this vibe that he's one of those people who think gorgeous females can't be represented in animation under some unwritten law that cartoons are strictly enjoyed by kids. For making bad assumptions, Lola Bunny ended up trending on Twitter when it saw her new look, and it was not pleased with it like he hoped. The original Space Jam came out in 1996. The man just saw Space Jam for the first time 2 years ago and said to himself, "This is a kid's movie. I got to be a hero to women everywhere and take away her boobs." Space Jam was rated PG, by the way. It's never explicit, but the parents should expect some material that may not be suitable for their little ones and contain things only adults understand. I mean, I have to assume dude knows how the PG rating works, seeing as he directed Undercover, which was only one level above with PG-13 and had two gorgeous women showing out with each other in the shower. I guess standards don't apply towards the opposite gender when it's live action films. Let me give you some insight that the director clearly didn't do for himself. Lola has had at least 4 other incarnations of her since Space Jam. Outside Baby Lola, of course, 2 things have never changed. She has always canonly had breasts. It's not a Space Jam thing. The writers all acknowledge that she's a female, and females do have breasting. The problem now is, this isn't just an isolated Lola issue. It's becoming an issue for any lady character that has them. The character doesn't have to be mature looking at all anymore for people to label it as sexualized based on that detail alone. It's become an excuse for people to say, "I'm offended that this character looks better than me, and I want her appearance nuked, or I want her removed." And it's why we'll continue to lose good female tunes, or lose more physical appearance diversity, when the Malcolm Lees of the world decide to strip a character of her iconic look and make statements like, "It's important to reflect the authenticity of strong, capable female characters." That's cute. That's the biggest crock of horse shit I've heard this year so far, but that's cute. So what you're saying is, I'm not going to Google hot female basketball players or famous female basketball players and not find a handful that could be a Space Jam Lola? And the kicker that adds to my frustration are the folks who think because you love and appreciate classic Lola for who she was and want her old design to be left alone, that even makes you a weirdo or want something to jerk off to. And to those people, I say, go fuck yourself. It's just so hard accepting that people get mad over a cartoon rabbit beyond her sexy design. Why can't you people just be normal like me? Ah! But yeah, Lola Bunny was trending on Twitter over her new look and basically split it in half. Half isn't good when your film is already on a fast track to bombing at the box office. The plot is already starting to sound like some complete and utter crap. Now you got the cherry on top by nuking the feminine frame of possibly the most anticipated character in 20 years for your movie and calling her strong. Listen to how that sounds. When you make statements saying women can be strong and sexy at the same time, you end up sounding like a sexist asshole. Anybody who actually knows why she turned out the way she was because her original plan design made her look a little too much like a boy to begin with. So they pumped up the details on her for the final release. And this is how you know Malcolm didn't study before he rushed to play savior over something no one asked him to do. His cell phone wasn't ringing off the hook from ugly, flat-chested, strong women saying you got to fix this rabbit for all womankind. Lola has always got mixed responses, but no one has ever truly been outraged about her, In '96, no one was kicking down WB's door saying the rabbit was too sexy and you got to get rid of her. I can almost guarantee you WB didn't care what version was being used. If the director wanted to use the OG Lola, they would have not stopped him. So he changed her because he had a vendetta against the character. I mean, the man has been quoted complaining about her crop top. Really, dude? For putting up with years of crying and complaining about how she had no personality, wasn't funny, or wasn't any good beyond being sexualized, I prayed she would come back and get redemption the way she debuted, because Space Jam 2 meant she would no longer be a last-minute character. It's amazing that 2 decades later that you still gotta tell her critics that even though the character was the hot chick that the guys lusted over, her character was already tough as nails. That was the beauty of her. She not only was standing up to the Monstars, but she was scoring on them. She knew she looked good, but at the same time she wasn't about to let the guys disrespect her over either. That's the part that always gets left out when folks try to make the character sound like she had a gangbang with the Toon Squad simply because she's pretty. But yeah, what a nice event to be talking about in Women's History Month of all times, where a guy is telling females what they are capable of. Get woke, go broke, that's all I'm getting from Space Jam: A New Legacy. And as I make this video, Pepe Le Pew's short role in the film has been axed too, based on gags he did like 7 decades ago. Somebody really needs to tell these people that there's consequences for overreaching. I mean, if they want to be woke so blasted badly, why not just go to full transcendence? We haven't forgotten the fact that Bugs Bunny was a racist little mother huncher in his early days, but Warner Brothers ain't gonna cancel their Golden Rabbit. So why, oh why, are we bringing up ancient news about Pepe? Malcolm Lee and friends need to consider taking some advice from the Sonic movie and listen. Stop doing shit more than people need from you and figure out a plot that doesn't sound like a dumpster fire. If this film needs to be pushed back, so be it. Being perfectly honest, the first film wasn't good. In fact, the bar is really low. It was still enjoyable, however. You got a serious problem when you go even lower than that. What he needs to consider doing is restoring Lola's design to something respectable of her debut to drag back some of the fan base he lost for this movie. And consider calling up some of the staff from the first movie and ask for some advice. You can kinda tell the dude is not a Looney Tune expert. And if not, we'll be back here in a couple of months talking about why a hard head makes for a shit-tastic movie. But let me know what you think. I guess we'll see how this video ages eventually. Please be sure to leave a like and click the notification bell for updates. My name is Jawbreaker, and I thank you all for watching Playfur Cinema.
Take it easy, Mr. Squirrel. Don't you know you can win one of 5,000 portable CD players by finding a picture of me inside a Cadbury's caramel wrapper? Take it even easier with Cadbury's caramel.
In the world of animation, mankind has managed to produce some really fantastic cartoons that will stand the test of time, such as Lion King and Toy Story. Some, not so much. In fact, some are so fucking bad, they make you want to gorge your eyes out with a baby spoon. In all Don Bluth's years as an animation director, he is responsible for the creation of some really great movies. Some of these titles include An American Tail, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and of course, the first ever The Land Before Time. But sadly, whereas he is responsible for some classics, he has also created some of the worst animation movies in history. And some of those titles include A Troll in Central Park and The Other, where our discussion begins. Probably the movie of Don's career that can be considered the start point, where Don lost control of the car, smashed hard into a brick wall, ended up in a fiery car crash, and there were no survivors. That movie, ladies and gentlemen, is Rock-a-Doodle. The movie is about a storybook character named Chanticleer, who left his life on a farm behind when his friends turned their backs on him. A plan hatched by an owl named the Duke.
I have some rather bad news.
I guess birds of a feather don't always stick together. Now, the Grand Duke is the big bad guy of the movie. He wanted Chanticleer off the farm so he couldn't call to the sun. With Chanticleer gone, he put his plan into motion by creating a major storm that will block out the sun for good. Not only does it cause problems in the storybook world, but also in the real world, where this annoying little kid and his family struggle to deal with the storm. When Edmund starts calling out to Chanticleer, the Duke comes to the real world and does us all a favor, and shuts his little ass up by turning him into a cat. But before the Duke could eat him, he manages to get away with a couple of friends, who, despite being part of the reason why Chanticleer left the farm in the first place, are willing to travel to the city, kiss his tail feathers, and get him to come home and save them. And whatever became of Chanticleer, you may ask? He found a job in the city and became known as the King, aka modeled after Elvis Presley, and I shit you not for those that are new to the movie. Well, now that you are caught up on the story so far, this is where our Furry Girl star comes in. Meet the love interest of Chanticleer, the out-of-this-world sexy Goldie Pheasant. Boy, that Chanticleer sure is a lucky guy. I bet you she gets some excellent hand jobs. Now, if I was a chicken, I sure would cross the road to tap that. I bet you there are a lot of other guys that would like to stick their cock in her doodle-doo. I wouldn't mind ruffling her tail feathers. That chick sure is finger-licking. Yeah, I think I just lost a couple more female subscribers. Despite the chicken jokes, however, Goldie is not a chicken. She's a pheasant, as her last name says. And in the beginning, she could not stand Chanticleer. With Chanticleer being the big star on campus, Goldie was forced to do minor singing roles. And she couldn't stand him for it. By the way, not only is Goldie sexy, she's sweet, kind, and a bit overly dramatic too. Pinky, how could you? Anything but the Q word? Not quit? It's like Pinky held her up at gunpoint. Was acting like this really necessary? And since we're here, if you don't recognize her voice actress already, she is voiced by Ellen Green. You know, the girlfriend from Little Shop of Horrors.
Come on and give me a drink.
I don't know if I should.
Hey, little lady, be nice.
Did you talk to sing?
I've seen enough hentai to know where this is. Oh, fuck it. Now, despite Chanticleer's newfound fame and fortune, it could not fill a void in his heart. He started feeling lonely. This helps Pinky devise a plan when he is contacted by the Duke, aka his boss.
It sounds bad, Pinky.
Pinky decides to pull Goldie into the plot by twisting the truth about Edmund and his friends, and has her play distraction to keep Chanticleer away from them. In this infamous scene by Goldie, she reminds us that her character was inspired by Jessica Rabbit.
Deep, deep, the trouble you're in. I'll throw you to the sharks and you can't swim.
While Goldie was seducing Chanticleer, she sneakily takes the paper airplane out of his hand. That paper airplane was an urgency letter, tossed moments earlier by Edmund, which will come into play later. The thing is, barely even 5 minutes later and Pinky's plan is already going up in smoke. Goldie was supposed to pretend to fall in love with him, but a few moments with the king and already she's falling in love with him. For real!
Love has said hello. You don't know what that really means to me.
When Edmund couldn't get through to Chanticleer directly, he decided to go to the source, Goldie herself.
Now, what are you doing in my dressing room?
Edmund manages to sneak into Goldie's trailer in order to tell her the situation. But when she figures out Edmund is the cat Pinky was telling her about, she freaks out.
Wait a minute. You're the bad little kitty Pinky told me about. You go away or I'll scream.
No, don't scream! Well, if things weren't bad, they got worse for Edmund and the gang. When Pinky succeeded in catching them all, by the time Goldie came to the realization that she had screwed up, it was already too late.
Oh no, what have I done?
While on the set for shooting a movie, Goldie secretly pulls him to the side to tell him the truth. Goldie gives him the letter that she snuck away from him earlier.
'Cause she wasn't supposed to.
Unfortunately, Pinky was listening in on the conversation. When Chanticleer refused to finish the film, Pinky blackmailed him by threatening the lives of his tied-up friends. Chanticleer, however, wasn't without his tricks in order to escape the studio.
It's not the script.
While on the run from Pinky, Goldie helped him find the trailer. However, thanks to Goldie's long hair, he bursts through the trailer window and is knocked out by a frying pan. The gang sneaks a knocked out Chanticleer through the air vent, where they hijack Pinky's car. Okay, time out. A character named Pinky with a pink car. Why does this look so familiar?
No, didn't I tell you I was gonna fire your ass if you hit something else?
Nope, I hear that boy, Pinky.
After you hit that little retarded boy with the fucked up walk. He's still breathing. Get your ass back in the car. Oh, no.
All right, motherfucker.
When Peepers the female mouse accidentally falls out of the car, the rescue turns into a quick emergency. Just as things look bad for Goldie, Edmund, and the others, it turns out Peepers ends up rescuing them instead. With Pinky's hijacked helicopter, they flew back towards the direction of the farm. Meanwhile on board, as Goldie tried to nurse Chanticleer back to consciousness, the Duke's pestering nephew resurfaces again. When it was time for Chanticleer to face off with Duke, Goldie would join in on the chant with the rest of the animals in order to defeat Duke once and for all. The last time we see Goldie is towards the end, sporting some brand new Daisy Dukes. Her and Chanticleer are now married, with 2 kids that are sitting on the fence. Well, thanks everybody for watching Furry Girl Profiles Goldie Pheasant. After dealing with this movie, I need a drink, and I don't even drink.
Lola Bunny. From way downtown, take a seat. Lola, Monster Toon Squad up by 9. What a move! Hurts. For 2. Toons by 7. Sit down. Lola shoots. Lola Bunny. Monsters trailed by 15. For 2. Rejected. Ouch. From way downtown. Don't ever call her dog. Down by 5. Don't ever call her dog. Don't ever call her dog. It's remaining. What a shot. Great move. Toons by 1. What a move. That hurts. What a move. That hurts. What a shot. For 2. She don't look like no doll to me.
One of the biggest furry babes of the 90s, the heartthrob of the hoops, Lola Bunny made her debut in 1996's Space Jam and replaced Honey Bunny permanently as Bugs' girlfriend. Whenever she comes back to TV screens, she still brings a lot of mixed reactions with her, and Twitter blows up debating the canon size of her titties. The original Lola was remembered famously for having a sex appeal and a seductive confidence to match, which was both loved by her biggest supporters and used to discredit the character at the same time. Those who choose not to understand the character or simply don't like her often call her not loony enough or try to claim she has no personality, which is completely crap because she was confident, tomboyish, respectful, and yet feisty when she needed to be. People need to remember she almost didn't make it into the original Space Jam. Last-minute changes demanded a better-fitting girl for the female demographic. And because of that, I believe that played a part in why her role was so limited. It also didn't help that big names like Chuck Jones thought she was useless and was destined to fail. However, she didn't fail. Instead, her popularity blew up and we've had her as the leading bunny girl ever since. I will say this from what I noticed. Whether it was intentional or not, OG Lola was definitely a product of the 90s, where girl power and sex positivity was a big deal of the decade. From the way I read the character, Lola was simply a girl who wanted to play ball with the boys. In fact, she was the only other best character on the Toon Squad next to Michael Jordan, who had a talent for basketball. At the same time, she knew she looked damn good, and you could tell she loved the skin she was in. You could whistle at her from the crowd and watch her fluffy tail as she left the room. But if she felt you was using her looks to disrespect her, then she was going to twist you into a pretzel. No disrespect to Malcolm D. Lee, he gets star power, but when it comes to cartoon lore, or in this case, his Lola Bunny from Space Jam: A New Legacy, which was supposed to be an improvement, nothing special was added. In fact, an argument could be made that more was taken from Lola in the second film than added, because there was nothing his Lola did that you can't picture the OG version doing. The original could have been a leader and trained with Wonder Woman too. New Legacy had a more in-your-face attitude. However, OG Lola had an in-your-face attitude too, but more so when you pissed her off. And you can't say his version is better at basketball because that's up for debate when both versions were the next best player next to Michael Jordan and LeBron James. I was really looking forward to 90s Lola Bunny returning because I would have really loved it if she got some character redemption. DC Comics, in my opinion, did a better job at it without taking away from her appearance and personality.
Grimace's room looks like a pig pen.
Does it, Ronald?
Well, it does need a little work. I'll help. We fixed it. Now it looks like a pig pen.
McDonald's proudly rolls out 8 exciting new wacky rollers featuring your favorite Tiny Toon Adventure stars and showcased by our lovely spokesmodels.
This has gone too far.
One vehicle with each Tiny Toon Adventures Happy Meal you buy.
Things just weren't going my way. My girlfriend didn't want to come over anymore. No matter how often I cleaned my litter box, it still smelled. But then she suggested Arm & Hammer Clump & Seal. It absorbs, seals, and destroys odor on contact. It was the change I needed. Thanks to Clump & Seal, litter box odor is no longer an issue. And I'm getting my confidence back. Arm & Hammer. More power to you.